Welcome. My name is Matt Rousu, and I'm going to play a short clip of a conversation I had with Dan Bragen and Alan Grant discussing economic concepts found in the Game of Thrones. The full clip discussing several different excerpts from Game of Thrones will be found at the link. We'll put it in the description. But for a discussion of where Tyrion Lannister teaches us about economics and really channels his inner Adam Smith, we'll go there right now.
Do not use me for your lies.
Those men respect you.
They respect me because they know who I am. They know I am loyal.
As do I.
I am loyal to my queen, not you. If you betray her work, you are my enemy.
I am not betraying her work. I am trying to save her city.
You promised the slavers they could keep slavery.
For a short time.
7 years is not a short time for a slave.
You're right. Slavery is a horror that should be ended at once. War is a horror that should be ended at once. I can't do both today.
You are wrong to trust these men.
I don't trust the masters. I trust their self-interest. They're trustworthy if they're convinced that working with me is in their self-interest.
Tyrion is trying to make a deal to free slaves, but there's some people upset for somewhat obvious reasons that it's going to be an agreement that takes 7 years before it happens. What concepts can we get out of that clip? What economic insights can we gain?
I think my favorite part of this, and it reminds me so much of Adam Smith's Wealth of Nations, is that you don't have to trust the people that you deal with. You don't have to love the people or care for the people that you deal with. All you have to do is pursue your own interests and trust that they're pursuing theirs in order for mutually beneficial exchange or mutually beneficial events to unfold.
Yeah, I think sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, Dean Rizzo.
No, go ahead.
Contextually, after that clip, I believe the slave states do break the agreement. They ended up being liars, as Grey Worm suggested. And I think, the way they were punished is that Daenerys and her army went in and destroyed the revolt and the battle that they had that ensued afterwards. And I think, sort of tying into Adam Smith and things like that, if you're going to deceive people in the marketplace, you will be punished in some manner. Now, in the Game of Thrones world, it happens to be that your army is destroyed, but in reality, it ends up being that your reputation's destroyed. People don't want to work with you anymore, and I think, again, kind of showing the consequences of not acting in your own self-interest.
Yeah, when I see that, I mean, I completely agree with both of all the points that you both raised. I also think through, right, we're talking about how bourgeois values, the idea of each person owns their own self and their ability to use their labor in the way they see fit. And of course, what's the biggest? I mean, the biggest violation of that's murder, but probably the second biggest violation could be slavery, right? Where a person does not get to own the fruits of their own labor, which is more prominent in the past, but unfortunately still exists in some parts of the world today. And thinking about the implications of not having the value, those types of values, and how it can kind of constrain economies.
I could add, I think, that so we have this famous economist, Ronald Coase, who back in 1960 or so said that resources are going to gravitate basically to their most valued use through the exchange of property rights. And in this series, this gets illustrated so well, I think, that when the slaves were slaves, they were put to the fighting pits in Marine, and they were fighting for their masters, and their masters were getting rich off their bounty. And then the slaves were suddenly freed, and immediately the slaves decided, hey, we want to go back to the fighting pits and fight for ourselves at this point. They end up in the same place doing the same work, but the division of the spoils, I think, gets divided differently. It matters very much to them who has the property right for their activity.